Welcome everyone to the Canarian International Meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. My name is Mossy and I am an alcoholic.
And my name is Mick, and I'm an alcoholic serving as your secretary as well. Please join us in a few moments' silence to remember the still suffering alcoholic inside and outside this meeting.
Philip is going to read the preamble.
Yeah, my name's Philip. I'm an alcoholic. The preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is an honest desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses or opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. Thank you.
Thanks, Philip. And a very warm welcome goes out to any newcomers or anyone returning to Alcoholics Anonymous.
The chat is now disabled until the end of the meeting, except for the meeting hosts. If you feel the meeting is at risk at any time during the meeting, please private message one of the co-hosts so that they can check it out.
And that's it, folks. That's our introductions in. This evening, guys, we have Vaughn Rocky to share with us. And I believe he celebrated over 50 years, 51 years. And Nick is sitting beside you there. Nick celebrated 50 years last Christmas. So there's 100 years sitting there between us, between the two of you there anyway, boys. So well done. Thanks for joining us, Rocky. You have 45, 50 minutes. It's up to yourself. And go for it, man. It's all yours, Rocky.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, cyberspace AA. What a way to pause through the day. Cyberspace squares. Where we speak the language of the metaphoric heart, the softer, easier way, just for today. God grant me the serenity to accept the person I cannot change, the courage to change the person I can, and the wisdom to know that person is me. My name is Vaughn Trot. Friends and enemies in the rooms now call me Rocky Trot. Family and loved ones call me Rock, Brother Rock, Papa Rock, Uncle Rock, Cousin Rock, Godpa Rock. And I am a very grateful member of this spiritual program of action, page 85, that we call Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, alive again. I can wax eloquent for 10 minutes, but to hold court for 40 minutes, I think I have to call her, pray for me. I was born on August 21st, 1948, right here in Bermuda. Day before my mother's birthday. She told me I was the best birthday present she ever had. I was 10 at the time when she told me that. It was a sunny Saturday morning at around 10 o'clock. I am, I'm gonna start my talk with a little brief reading from Dr. Bob Good Old Timers, The Machine Behind the Scenes, and a little teeny piece of our beloved Big Book, my favorite passage. Since our tradition of anonymity designates the exact level where the line should be held, it must be obvious to everyone. It's on page 264 of Dr. Bob Good Old Timers. To anyone who can read and understand the English language, that to maintain anonymity at any other level is definitely a violation of this tradition. The AA who hides his identity from his fellow AA by using only a given name violates the tradition just as much as the AA who permits his name to appear in the press in connection with matters pertaining to AA. The former is maintaining his anonymity. This is from one of Dr. Bob's talks. Above the level of press radio films, and the latter is maintaining his anonymity below the level of press, radio, and films, whereas the tradition states that we should maintain our anonymity at the level of press, radio, and film. So, and my favorite Big Book passage is this. I want to take one little piece out of Dr. Bob's Nightmare. I spend a great deal of time passing on what I learned to others who want and need it badly. I do it for 4 reasons. 1, sense of duty. 2, it's a pleasure. 3, it's because in doing, I am paying my debt to the man who took time to pass it on to me. And 4, because every time I do it, I take out a little more insurance for myself against a possible slip. And I have a number 5. I like being happy, joyous, and free. And if I stop fellowshipping, I could read the Big Book every day. I could read the bigger book every day. But if I don't tune in with you guys in fellowship, the first thing that drops off is the J of my joy. And all I'm left with is OY. If you think you are an atheist, an agnostic, a skeptic, or have any other form of intellectual pride which keeps you from accepting what's in this book, I feel sorry for you. If you still think you are strong enough to beat the game alone, that is your affair. But if you really and truly want to quit drinking liquor for good and all, and sincerely feel you must have some help, we know that we have an answer for you. It never fails if you go about it with 1/2 the zeal you have been in the habit of showing when you are getting another drink. Your Heavenly Father will never let you down. That's been true in my case. You know, I came into this fellowship of calling myself an atheist and agnostic. I was a raving, blaspheming God hater. Get that God shit out of my face was my mantra, you know. And he let me go low. He lifted me out of the slime. And today, I spend a lot of time giving thanks and praise day by day because of you guys. You know, I was a very shy kid. You know, I had a speaking pattern. I still do kind of to a degree. And didn't have any self-esteem. You know, I was always kind of athletic, but I didn't have enough confidence to participate in anything. You know, it was. I always felt like a piece of shit deep down inside. I acted like everything was cool, but you know, and I know today what I've learned. You know, coming into the fellowship. You know, we're all born with a clean slate. You know, apart from the virus from our predecessors. You know, a lot of it is genetic, I believe. You know, but and I thought I was dumb. You know, I didn't think I had any kind of intellectual abilities, you know. And I was even after being skipped over a class, which kind of pissed me off because I left all my buddies behind, you know. And was accepted into a high school, but it was only, I think it was only 2 hours out of about a dozen to pass to get in, you know. I still felt like a piece of shit, you know. Now this is what it was like. One day after school in the fall of 1963, myself and my buddy Andy went to a wedding reception. And the champagne was flooded. They were giving it to everybody, you know. Now, I don't know how old I was when I had my first drink, but I was 15 years old that day. And I remember it like yesterday. Damn, I remember it like yesterday. I had arrived. I mean, I was chronically shy, you know, and I mean, not one with the girls, I'm rapping with the ladies in the place. And I told my buddy the next day, man, I ain't never leaving home without that. You know, and for the next decade, that's probably the only decision in my life that came to fruition. I got a job with this telecommunications company, Cable and Wireless. And you guys in the UK are familiar with that. They sent me to Cornwall to train as an electronic technician. telecommunication technician. And I was having a good time. And I was drunk all the time. And it was pathetic. You know, I lasted a year and I quit. And I went to London. I couldn't stay in the country. I went to London. An old timer, just a regular old timer, not any fellowship. It was before the fellowship came along. Taught me to join the Marines. Thank God I was drunk that day. I went to the induction center. They said, "Come in, son." And they told me I could join, but I had to sign up for 12 years. I said, 12 years? I said, listen. I said, that's a lifetime, man. He said, you can go, look. He said, don't worry, you will only be in the regular service for 9 years, and you'll be in the reserves for 3 years. I said, 12 years? They said, look, you can go across the road and join the regular army for 4 years. I said, regular army? I'm Marine material. But not material enough to make a 12-year commitment. And I split, you know. I hopped on BOAC, I flew home on my poor mother. Because this was a great opportunity that I had. She was out in the yard hanging clothes, and she said, "What you doing now, Brock?" I said, "Just taking a break." And when she came in, I told her that I quit fireworks, you know. I went out and got drunk, you know. And I ran into my favorite uncle, my mother's brother, you know, great guy. And he said, "Let's go to Canada for a few weeks." And we hopped on a plane and flew to Montreal, 3 weeks excursion. That was 1970. It was $90 round trip at the time. Yeah, I was in Montreal having a good time. And I overstayed my visa and overstayed my vacation, my tourist thing, and because I went to this party and I met this girl. And she took me home of her and stayed with her. And after a couple of months, she said, "Let's go to the immigration and I'll get extended." You know, we went there. They said, "Hey, your ass is supposed to be out of here already." They gave me a day to pack my bags and split. You know, I came back home, and I got a job on a ship, an oceanographic research ship. Again, you know, it was an opportunity that I didn't really see. I used to get straight A's in trigonometry, and I was a deckhand, and they made me a third officer after a couple of months, because the captain, who was an alcoholic, took a liking to me, and he was teaching me navigation. You know, and those were the best days of my life. I loved that job. Damn. But it was a ship. It's a miracle that no one was lost on that ship. It was a World War II minesweeper. It should have been disposed with like decades already. We were in a storm one time, and the hull was coming up, separating from the gunnel, like wide enough you could put your hand in, you know. And this thing stayed afloat. And that job didn't last too long because we had some issues, and I walked off. I quit. And Earl Brown, my buddy Earl Brown, got up on that boat as well after I left. But I got on a schooner, Marie Pierre, belonged to this French shipping magnate, and I asked them if they needed crew. They said, "Yeah, but we can't pay you anything." Not a problem. You know, I hopped on at 3 squares and a bunk. And matter of fact, me and the engineer had the captain's quarters. Captain and his wife had the main suite. It was a beautiful, beautiful ship. And we left Bermuda and sailed to the Azores. I didn't drink. I knew if I drank, I was 21, 22 at the time. I knew if I drank, I wouldn't last long with that job. And left the Azores, went over to Morocco. And this is a spiritual experience. Didn't recognize it then, but it was a spiritual experience. Got into Morocco. I couldn't wait to head for the Casbah, get drunk, and get lucky. And it was a bunch of American guys on the boat, like four American guys, and two brothers from Antigua. And so I was running to catch those guys. The Antiguan guys was staying on the ship. They said, "Come on, Rock, hurry up!" And as I was running to catch those guys, a voice stopped me in my tracks, and the voice said, "Rock, if you go to the Casbah of those guys tonight, you'll never see Bermuda again." You know, it was scary. I stopped, turned around, walked back to the ship, and I hung with those guys. We just walked around the Casbah. It was interesting. I remember a little bit of it, I don't know what they did, but the next morning, the police and the immigration were there. Everything was in Spanish and Arabic or whatever. And I hid down below because of the whole crew. They took my passport. Mine was the only passport confiscated for whatever reason. I don't know, coming from this little insignificant country, I guess, Bermuda. And those guys came down and said, "Let's go, Rock. We're gonna take the ferry over to Cannes and get jobs on boats over there." I said, "No, go ahead." I said, I can't do that. So they left. And the captain said that he would start paying me. You know, left there, went over to Gibraltar, you know, and walking along the dock was this big, beautiful motor yacht. And it was three guys, the crew. It was one black American and two white brethren. And all they did was cruise around the Mediterranean waiting for a phone call, tell them where to bring that ship. And they invited me to join the crew. But alas, I told a good friend of mine that I would be best man in his wedding. He wanted Earl Brown, my brother Earl Brown, but Brown had already disappeared. And he was in Detroit at the time, he thinks, where he is located right now. And so we left there and went over to Algeciras, the southern tip of Spain. And I hadn't drank, and everything was cool. And when we went to Algeciras, the cerveza was flooded and it was cheap. I had a beer, and the beer had me. The next thing I know, I was on a train, packed my duffel bag and split, you know. And I don't know what happened, but they kicked me off the train in Barcelona, you know. And I didn't know what to do. I said, and thank God, before I left Bermuda, my mother told me to make sure to take some traveler's checks, you know. Because when I packed my bag, I didn't even go to not even thought about getting a paycheck. And I'm sitting on this platform in Barcelona, not knowing what to do. Colonels are serving, and this stranger came along. I really believe this, again, it was a spiritual experience. I think this guy was an angel. This guy spoke broken English, and they asked me what I was doing. I'm sitting there eating a Hershey's almond bar. I saw this Hershey almond bar, and I'm sitting there eating this, my favorite chocolate. And he asked me what I was doing. I said, "Well, I'm trying to get to Paris because they kicked me off the train." You know, he took me over to the ticket agent, got me another ticket, took me back to the platform, says, "Next train, get on." I didn't know where the train was going. I ended up in Paris, which I had been before, and so I kind of knew how to get around. And I made it over to Calais, and I came to Canada. You know, so that was what it was like. And still a little bit more what it was like. I'm in Montreal with a friend. We were in this bar drinking, and was a bunch of Satan's Choice guys in the corner. And this guy, I don't know what he said to him, but we were all drinking, and it got messy. And I decided time for me to leave. Montreal. I had a good friend he was sent. He was Vietnamese. He was sent by the Vietnamese army to the States. This was during the Vietnam War. He was sent to the States to train. My brother split to Canada, and we teamed up, and we were heading for Vancouver, but stopped in Kitchener, Waterloo, Ontario. He motored on. And I went out one night and got drunk and got arrested. and so I couldn't really go. I wasn't in prison at the time. I was just locked up one night, and I had to go to court, you know. And I didn't even know what the charge was. You know, I had forgotten. I was in a blackout. I blacked out virtually every time I drank. You know. So and before my court date came up, I was working on this silo crew. We were constructing grain silos on farms all around Toronto and the environs. And one Monday afternoon, I was hungover, and the foreman said, "Let's race to the bottom." We started. You on top of this thing. I don't know how, but way up there, racing on, and I slipped and fell. You know, and I was in hospital for about a week, and I realized then that I was supposed to be in court that week. So I called my sister. I was sharing an apartment with my sister in Kitchener, and she went to court on my behalf, and they postponed the case. You know. So yeah, that was what it was like, and this is what happened. So I go to court. I had pins and rods on my arm. I was messed up big time. And I went to court, and the judge called me to the bench. Now, we're right in the process of a miracle in my life. You know, I went to the bench, and the judge asked me who was my lawyer. I said, "Represent myself, Your Honor." You know, I still really didn't know what the hell I was there for. You know, the judge said, "Son," and I really thought I was fed up. You know, it was. You know, I grew up. This world is wars, races, and still is racist. There's a whole lot of racial bullshit that's going on. You know, but I've learned that the Father created one race, the human race, made up of a mosaic of many cultures, ethnicities, shapes, and sizes, and languages. You know, so this judge calls me to the bench, and he says, he gave me a handwritten note of a half a dozen lawyers that did legal aid. You know, he said, "You need to get one of these guys, son," and he postponed the case. You know, and I went and retained this lawyer. You know, and we came back to court. Yeah, we came back to court, and the case went on. And before before the case came back to court, was my birthday, my 26th birthday. And my sister, who I was living with, said, "Do I want to go on?" I said, "Girl, I'm in enough trouble already. I'm just going to chill." She said, "You sure?" I said, yeah, I'm just chilling, you know. She went to bed. So I'm sitting there on my 26th birthday, watching TV, and boing, the virus goes off. Sitting here watching black and white TV in your birthday, and boing, the virus goes off again. I remember I had a half a bottle of vodka hidden under the kitchen sink. That should have told me something right there, hide my liquor. Yeah. And I remember, my memory banks are shut, but I remember vividly saying, "Rock, you're gonna have one drink to celebrate your birthday. That's it. And you're gonna chill." I don't even remember taking a drink. I do remember being in handcuffs very shortly after that. You know, I called back to my lawyer. He was very, you know, I said, "How do you think I feel, man?" You know. So the case resumes. We go back to court, and before the judge passed sentence, he sent me to this guy for a pre-sentence report. His name was Terry Surden. He became my probation officer. It was a Friday morning in the fall of 1974, and he said. He spent 10 minutes talking about himself. And when he finished talking, again, my memory banks are shut, but I remember like yesterday verbatim, I said to him, I said, "Dang, man, Sounds like I've been following me around all my life. And he said, well, I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, how'd you like to go to a meeting with me? You know, the alternative was bleak. I said, sure, man, yeah. This was a Friday morning. He says, I'm going to take you to a meeting on Thursday night. Don't try not to drink until then, you know. I said, yes, sir. Left his office and got pissed drunk all weekend, you know. I didn't know what I was going to do, you know. I'm looking at this court case and the following Sunday, I'm sitting there, I had 2 quarts of Molson Canarian beer, nursing a hangover. You know, my sister, bless her soul, she invited this girl, a girl from St. Vincent, matchmaking, trying to settle me down and get me like, praying for a miracle, I guess. And we were talking, and she was studying nursing, and she had a roommate, this Amish girl, Mennonite, you know, and they knew me. And she came up. Hey, anyhow, I'm digressing here. So we go back to court, and I was all prepared to do time. Cause my lawyer told me after that second episode, he said, yeah, definitely, he said, you're going to go to prison, then you're going to be deported. You know, but once again, the hand of the Almighty that I've been cursing all my life, you know, go back to court, and I didn't get a day. I got a suspended sentence. I got some fines and a year's probation. And my lawyer, I remember my lawyer walking out of court, my lawyer saying, damn, I never seen nothing like that in my life. I said, yeah, he was kind of lenient, wasn't he? You know? And that's how I entered Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, Terry Surden took me to that meeting that Thursday night, the New Hope group at the Kitchener-Waterloo Memorial Hospital. It's now the Grand River Hospital. The meeting is no longer there. And I had an epiphany. I walked into the room. I had my last drink 3 days before that. I was 39 days after my 26th birthday. Walked into the room, didn't have a clue what to expect. I walked in, it was maybe 20 or so folks, all white folks, maybe a third or a quarter of women, looking very prosperous and happy and healthy. And I sat there, and every one of those folks in that room said they were powerless over alcohol. Damn, it blew me away, because I remember sitting in Chick's Bar on a Tuesday or a Thursday night or Wednesday night. Myself, the barmaid, and a bunch of drinks, wondering, why the hell am I here? Nothing happening at all, you know? And the penny dropped at that meeting, you know? And at the end of that meeting, Terry asked me if I wanted him to take me to some more meetings. I said, no, that's all right. I'll find my own way. And the very next morning, I was down waiting for the meeting to open, the Good Morning Group in Kitchener, Ontario, with Leander John Joseph Gunther presiding. That's his soul. I love that man. And I walked into that room full of excitement. And the first thing my eyes laid on was a plaque. But for the grace of God, I said, oh, shit, another bunch of effing early rulers. I knew it was a catch. I knew it was a catch. And but there's joy in the room. You know, Leander John Joseph Gunther, he told me, that brother, he wanted me to get well, you know, and he was an old time. He told me he spent 7 years living under the freight shed in Waterloo, Ontario. You know. Told me one time, he had 7 children. He told me one time he gave one of his daughters away for a bottle. You know, and I thank God for that man. I didn't appreciate it at the time. You know, like I didn't realize I had the gift of desperation at the time. You know, I was pathetic. You know, but after that meeting, for the next 5 or 6 months, I was at a meeting. Right, kind of comfortable and happy, you know. And that's what happened, you know. And what it's like today, hey, I want to thank you guys. I love the fellowship. You know, I'm still active. I've taken a few sabbaticals because of this bullshit and dry drunks, you know. And my last sabbatical, I was approaching my 10th anniversary. I was living in Toronto, Ontario, married with 2 little children, 4-year-old, 6-month-old. My wife suffered from paranoid schizophrenia, diagnosed, and she had a crack habit, you know. And I was carrying a lot of weight, you know. Now I forgot where I was going. Okay. I'm a senior. They tell me I look kind of youthful, but memory banks are shot. Goes off key sometimes. Yeah. Damn, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyhow, what it's like now. Yeah, I'm sorry, you guys. Tell you, I'll go back to Eloquent for 10 minutes. Yeah, hey, you know, if not for this fellowship, I'd have crashed and burned. Oh yeah, approached my 10th anniversary, I was going to have I decided I'm going to have a couple of beers, was on my mind all the time. I can't, yes, I can, you know, and then I sold my car, my son in daycare. It was rough. Every penny my wife got her hands on went up and smoked. And at work one night, I worked on the night shift. I'm an electrician by trade. Working along with the pipe fitter, Mike. Mike was like pig pan and peanuts. Always a cloud of smoke around him, but it wasn't dust. It was nicotine, cigarette smoke. And we didn't have to break through on the night shift. I said, Mike, give me a smoke. I hadn't had a cigarette for 7 years. And he didn't pay me any mind. I said, Mike, give me a cigarette. He looked at me and said, you're serious? I said, yeah, man. I said his famous last words, one won't hurt. And I smoked that was one of those French Jetan cigarettes. And I smoked that cigarette and let him after work, smoked 2 of my wife's DeMaurier lights. And the next day on the way to work, I had a pack in my pocket, you know. And cigarettes had just gone up to $4 a pack. And it cost a lot more. This was in 1984. And every time I lit a cigarette, I said, God, I said, Father, help me. Because I was really struggling financially, you know. And after 6 months, again, I remember like yesterday, getting off the elevator, walking down to my apartment. I had 2 days clean. And I'm patting myself on the back, opening the door. Inside my apartment, on the bookshelf, a pack of DeMaurier lights. Involuntary muscles kicked in, picked up that pack, put one of my chops, sat on the couch, smoked that sucker down to the filter. I crushed, fell on my face on the floor. I said, Father, if my body is the temple of the Holy Spirit and you do not want me putting this shit in it, you better do something. Amen. I realized sometime then I subconsciously surrendered. And I stopped smoking. I don't even remember stopping, but I haven't had a cigarette since. But I was still planning on celebrating my 10th anniversary with a couple of beers. And a day or two later, or whatever, I don't know, right out of the blue one day, said, Rock, it's like that with cigarettes. God help you if you take another drink. I was brought back to my senses by the Most High. Once again, you know, just a divine intervention, you know. And today, I am truly happy, joyous, and damn near free. I've been saying I've been happy, joyous, and free for some time, but I was at a funeral of a friend some time ago, just a month or two ago, and I realized there's some shit that I need to do. So you know what? but compared to what it was like, I'm free. You know, I came into this room saturated with self-hatred. Today, I love me to life on my bestest buddy. You know, and again, I realized I have to continue fellowship, because if I stop fellowshipping, I might not drink. I meet them all the time out there. People who have been in the rooms who no longer participate, but I'm not happy, joyous, and free. You know, I love being happy, joyous, and free. I love you guys. You know, it's a spiritual program of action. For me, this is church. You know, that's another thing. I struggled because I started going to church in my early days. You know, I was going to 4 different churches. I was going to the Adventist church, the Pentecostal church, the Mennonite church, another church. And one church told me I'm going to speak in a different language. Another church told me I'm going to worship on a certain day. Another one told me that I shouldn't go to these meetings. This is a cult. And but I hung in, and I spent a lot of time in the scriptures, and I was again struggling between the church and the rooms. And one day the Almighty smacked me upside the head and said, "Rock, what did I do to save your sorry ass?" It was Alcoholics Anonymous. You need to keep your eyes here, and in your unfeeble way, point toward me. You know, and for me it works. You know. I sound religious, but I'm not religious. I guess I'm religiously spiritual. I have a dynamic conscious contact with the Father, my Father who resides in heaven. But I can accept anybody for whatever they believe. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, it's your life is your life. My life is my life. You know, if not for you guys, I would have never met beautiful Dirty there. You know, beautiful Libby. And you guys are beautiful too. I don't know you, but I know Brother Glenn, Brother Earl Brown. But this shit works. You know, I'm living life. I'm not controlled by my wildest dreams. I really hardly have them anymore. But I'm living life way beyond my best expectations, way beyond. Even with the virus on my hard drive. You know, we say this prayer after most meetings. You know, they call it the Lord's Prayer. I call it the Disciples' Prayer. And let me just get to the part where it says, "Deliver us from evil." I always look at the dark side, the devil, and da. But I had another spiritual awakening one day. You know, the Father said, "No, that's a defeated foe. It's the resident evil. Still there trying to get out. Still there trying to control me. You know, and it would if not for you guys. I need the fellowship. There's 2 pillars of true sobriety. The pillar of the fellowship, AA, NA, Al-Anon, OA, SA, GA, AM, and FM. And it's the pillar of the program, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. All the other fellowships use with permission the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I know, again, I didn't, I've just been, you know, you've heard the story. You've heard the footprints on the beach. Footprints, that footprints thingy, right? Hey, for the last 77 years, there's been one set of footprints behind my sorry ass. You know, I do not want him to put me down and still carry me. You know, I'll fly solo when I cross over Jordan. Anyhow, listen, talking like this has been a struggle. What I really, hey, Brother Glenn, hey, thanks for your love, man. Hey, Glenn, man, hey, I love you, man. I appreciate you for real. You know, and I'm gonna, if you guys will be with me, I'm just gonna finish off with the serenity prayer, the complete serenity prayer, which has brought me through some shit. You know, God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as the pathway to peace, taking as he did the sinful world as it is, not as we would have it. Trusting that you will make all things right. If we surrender to your will, that we may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Thank you guys for the love. Thank you for bearing with me. And keep coming back. Love and blessings.
Thanks, Rocky. That was beautiful. Geez, you have some energy, man. The energy is bouncing off the screen there, and it's a lovely thing. I love sobriety. I love to see people getting well. I love to see the energy that's bouncing off you there. I hate the other side of it. I hate what addiction does to people. I hate to see people going out. It fucking breaks my heart, to be honest with you. I'm sitting here today and I'm surrounded by love no matter where I go. I'm surrounded by love. You know, this fellowship has done so much for me and for my family. I'll never be able to pay the debt back, but I do a bit of service. I stay in contact with a higher power. And I'm just me, and I love being me, by the way. You know, you spoke there of you love your brother Glenn. You know, I told my father years ago I loved him, and he laughed straight in my face. That was the last time I told him. You know what I mean? It was just, we weren't brought up that way. The next time I told the man I loved him, it was Mick the Ferret. And I love that man. And there's many other people that I love, and I love to see them in rooms getting well and staying well. You know, that's enough for me. You know, you made my evening, Rocky. We'll have to get you back again.
Yeah.
Talk to you again, my friend. Take it away there, Mick.
Okay, Mossy, on my way. Look at that, I love off there. I'm just looking at you and your grandchild. You know, magic. You know what this fellowship gives us. You know, a family. Yeah. Yesterday, I got a phone call from my daughter. I go over there Fridays to stay at my daughter's for tea and stuff. And I got a phone call, and it said a text message, and it said, "Dad, I'll pick you up at 2 o'clock." And a little while after, my granddaughter, she just passed her test. She said, "No, Mum, I'll pick him up." And when I got over to their house, and that, my granddaughter picked me up and took me, I heard her mum say, "I thought it was going to be a surprise for your granddad that you turned up instead of me." And I thought, I wouldn't have this if it wasn't through this fellowship. The love of my family. Because at the end of my drinking, you know, I didn't have a family. I was alone. And Rocky, you said, you know, if you can't remember your last drink, you haven't had it, kind of. I don't remember my last drink, but I remember where it put me, in an asylum, you know, alone, by myself. That's what I remember, the loneliness and the coldness of my life. And I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, and I didn't want to tell you who I was because I thought you wouldn't like me. And what did you people do? You loved me for it when I told you who I was, what I was, and where I came from. Ain't we lucky people? You know, we hit rock bottom and the only way is up. And it is absolutely beautiful. And I have a legacy. See, my brother was a year sober, and he said, "AA is not for me." And he went back out and he died. His legacy to me is, if I leave this fellowship, I will die. So I stick to AA as much as I can. Thank you very much, Rock. Right.
The 9-step promises. Hi, everybody. I am Katrina and I am an alcoholic still. The 12-step promises. If you are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the world's serenity and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realise that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, and they will always materialise if we work for them. Thank you.
Thanks, Katrina, and thanks, Philip, for doing the preamble, and Mick for being my sidekick, Kathleen for your wonderful timekeeping, and all the other co-hosts, and a special thanks to Rocky, and a big apology to Mike. Mick screwed up again. So that's it, guys. Mick.
Right. A reminder, we have a meeting on 7 days a week at 8:30 UK time. We also have a lunchtime meeting every Sunday at 1 p.m. UK time. This is a meditation meeting.
We also have a meeting Thursday evening at 7:30 UK time, and our old-timers meeting on Saturdays, which is recorded for our archives. And that's it. Who you see here?
Stick around for fellowship after the meeting. If you want
Sorry.
to break out room, please ask the host. Right.
The yellow card. Who you see here?
What you hear,
When you leave here.
let it stay here.
And that's it. Now just say, get Rocky to lead us out with this serenity prayer. And thanks for the fantastic share. And anyone that wasn't paying attention, we'll send you out the recording and we'll be asking questions on Monday morning at the meeting about it. Take it away there, Rocky.
Let's have another moment of silence. The serenity prayer. God,
Serenity.
We'll set the things we cannot change.
Please change know the difference. Thank you.
Thank you, God, for a lovely meeting. Thank you, Marty.